Today, we are diving into a major development that has shaken the Israeli Defense Forces and created a wave of discussions across the region. The incident of a downed Israeli helicopter has not only raised serious questions about security, but also sent shockwaves inside the ranks of the military. What really happened, why it matters, and what this could mean for Israel's position in the region is what we are going to explore together. The news of a helicopter being shot down or crashing in a conflict zone is never small. It immediately captures global attention because it signals vulnerability in a force that has often been considered one of the most advanced in the Middle East. For Israel, which prides itself on technology, intelligence, and a powerful military structure, this event has created a moment of panic, uncertainty, and intense scrutiny. At the center of this story lies not just the helicopter itself, but the symbolic meaning of the incident. A helicopter represents mobility, surveillance, and control over the battlefield. When one goes down, it challenges the perception of superiority. For the soldiers on the ground, the officers in command, and the political leadership watching closely, the shock is not only physical, but also psychological. The first reports suggested that the helicopter was downed under circumstances that were not immediately clear. Some pointed to mechanical failure, while others strongly suspected hostile fire. In regions of active conflict, the distinction between these two possibilities makes a huge difference. If it was mechanical, it exposes flaws in maintenance or aging equipment. If it was enemy fire, it reveals that opponents of Israel may have developed or acquired weapons capable of threatening even the most secure Israeli aircraft. Inside the ranks of the Israeli Defense Forces, such an event causes instant waves of panic. Soldiers begin to question whether their air support is truly as untouchable as they once believed. Commanders start reviewing strategies, and intelligence agencies rush to identify whether this was an isolated event or the beginning of a larger pattern. Panic is not always shown on the surface, but behind closed doors the pressure becomes very real. For years, Israel has relied on its advanced air capabilities to maintain dominance. Helicopters, drones, and fighter jets are central to this strategy. A helicopter going down under hostile circumstances threatens that advantage. It sends a message to enemies that the IDF is not invincible, and it sends a chilling reminder to Israeli troops that they can be targeted even when supported by air power. The panic inside the IDF ranks also comes from the way information spreads. In the digital age, footage or reports of a downed helicopter can circulate quickly, both domestically and internationally. Soldiers in different bases hear the news almost immediately. Families of service members begin to worry. Rumors spread faster than official statements, and that creates confusion and fear. From a leadership perspective, this becomes a crisis of confidence. Political leaders need to reassure the public, while military leaders must reassure their forces. At the same time, both groups know that the truth cannot be hidden for long. If this was indeed a case of enemy fire, then acknowledging it could embolden adversaries. If it was mechanical, then admitting it could show weakness in preparedness. Either way, the situation is damaging. The context of this event is also important. Israel is surrounded by complex threats, ranging from organized militant groups to well-equipped state actors. The downing of a helicopter, therefore, fits into a much larger story of constant conflict and the struggle for dominance in the region. Enemies of Israel see an opportunity to showcase their ability to resist. Allies of Israel watch carefully to measure how strong Israel remains under pressure. For the soldiers on the ground, the psychological effect is enormous. Imagine being part of a unit that depends on helicopter support for evacuation, supply, or combat operations. The belief that air units can always protect you is suddenly broken. Doubts creep in, questions are asked. Are we safe? Will we get the backup we need in critical moments? Such uncertainty eats away at morale, and morale is the heartbeat of any military. The Israeli Defense Forces, of course, have long experience in handling crises. They are trained to respond quickly, to adapt, and to turn weaknesses into strengths. But even the strongest force can feel the shock of losing a helicopter. Investigations begin immediately, but investigations take time. In the meantime, whispers of panic grow louder. Internationally, this story gains traction because Israel's military image is deeply tied to its foreign policy. Nations around the world look at Israel as a country that relies heavily on defense strength. When cracks appear, the political consequences can be just as heavy as the military ones. Critics of Israel seize the opportunity to argue that the nation is not as invulnerable as it portrays itself. Supporters scramble to defend its reputation. Meanwhile, adversaries celebrate. For them, this incident becomes a victory, symbolic or real. Even if only one helicopter is lost, it represents proof that Israel can be hurt. That alone is enough to fuel propaganda, recruitment, and further attacks. And Israel knows this, which is why the panic inside its ranks is coupled with urgency in controlling the narrative. The question of how the helicopter was downed remains critical. Was it a surface-to-air missile? Was it small arms fire hitting a vulnerable point? Or was it purely mechanical? Each possibility carries its own consequences. A missile would mean adversaries have access to advanced technology. Small arms fire would indicate dangerous proximity to hostile fighters. Mechanical failure would highlight internal weaknesses. Inside the IDF, every department is mobilized. Engineers check fleets of helicopters. Intelligence units scan for evidence of new weapons in enemy hands. Commanders analyze whether operational strategies need to change. The sense of panic pushes everyone into overdrive. Mistakes must be identified. Lessons must be learned, and confidence must be restored. For the Israeli public, the story also matters deeply. Every military setback feels personal in a country where military service touches almost every family. A downed helicopter means potential loss of lives. Families grieve, communities mourn, and national conversations ignite. People demand answers. They want to know how something like this could happen. They want assurance that it will not happen again. At the political level, leaders face pressure not only from citizens but also from the opposition. Critics argue that the government failed to maintain security. Supporters demand unity but also seek solutions. The panic inside the military is matched by debate inside parliament and the media. National security becomes the top subject, overshadowing everything else. And then comes the question of retaliation. If the helicopter was brought down by enemy fire, what should Israel's response be? Should it strike back hard to reassert dominance? Should it act cautiously to avoid escalation? Each choice carries risks. Retaliation may restore confidence but could also lead to wider conflict. Restraint may appear weak but could prevent larger bloodshed. The pressure on decision makers becomes immense. This single event, then, becomes more than just a technical accident or battlefield loss. It becomes a symbol of vulnerability, a test of resilience, and a turning point in the ongoing struggle between Israel and its opponents. Panic is a natural response, but the real question is how the IDF will transform that panic into preparation for the future. The downed helicopter also sparks questions about technology. Israel is known for cutting-edge defense systems like the Iron Dome and advanced drones. If a helicopter, equipped with the latest systems, can be taken down, then it forces everyone to rethink assumptions. Are current defenses enough? Do they need upgrades? Are enemies adapting faster than expected? These are the uncomfortable but necessary questions facing military planners. In conflict, perception matters as much as reality. Even if the actual damage is limited, the perception of weakness spreads quickly. Israel's enemies will use this incident as proof of their strength. Israel's allies may quietly begin to wonder about reliability. And the IDF itself must deal with both realities at once, the reality of a lost helicopter and the perception of a shaken force. What makes this even more significant is that helicopters are not just machines. They carry people, pilots, crews, soldiers, all of whom risk their lives in service. Every downed helicopter means human lives are at stake. Inside the IDF, the loss of comrades deepens the emotional impact. Soldiers are not only panicked about security but also grieving. This combination intensifies the strain. For Israel's adversaries, celebrating this incident may provide short-term morale, but it also raises the stakes. Israel will not ignore a loss like this. History shows that Israel often responds to challenges with overwhelming force. The panic inside the IDF may quickly turn into determination to strike back harder than before. This creates a dangerous cycle where one incident fuels escalation on both sides. The helicopter incident also highlights the changing nature of warfare. Drones, missiles, cyber warfare, all are modern tools that blur traditional lines. A helicopter going down shows that even old methods, like shooting down an aircraft, still hold power in shaping conflict. It reminds everyone that war is evolving, but not abandoning its brutal basics. Inside Israel, military analysts will debate for months about what exactly happened. Was it a failure of planning, a rare accident, or a sign of deeper problems? Each conclusion carries weight. If it was rare, then perhaps panic will fade with time. But if it was systemic, then major reforms will be needed. The IDF cannot afford repeated incidents. This story also ties into the broader regional dynamics. Countries watching from the outside will use this event to calculate their own strategies. Rivals may see opportunities, while allies may rethink levels of support. In a region where perception of strength determines negotiations, a single helicopter crash can shift balances. For the IDF soldiers themselves, panic eventually turns into adaptation. Training will intensify, procedures will change, confidence will be rebuilt, but it will take time. Trust in air support, once unquestioned, will need to be re-earned. That is not an easy process, but it is a necessary one. Ultimately, the downed helicopter is more than a single incident. It is a reminder that even the strongest militaries are not immune to setbacks. It is a wake-up call to leaders, soldiers, and citizens alike. Panic may spread quickly, but resilience must follow. The future of the IDF will depend on how it learns from this moment, how it strengthens its weaknesses, and how it reassures those who depend on its protection. Thank you for staying with me through this deep dive into the story of the downed Israeli helicopter and the panic it sparked inside the ranks of the IDF. This is a story still unfolding, one that reflects the fragility of power and the reality of conflict. Stay tuned, because the consequences of this incident are likely to shape events for a long time to come.